My name is Oliver Pachota, and this is my Toulmin argument presentation on the effects of chronic traumatic encephalopathy, otherwise known as CTE. So CTE is a degenerative brain disease that impairs cognitive and emotional functions, and it's most likely found in athletes who are a part of contact sports like boxing, football, rugby, hockey, sports where you have more concussions, where you take more head blows. And CTE actually is only diagnosable post-mortem, so after death. After death, they do an examination of your brain, and if you have CTE, that is when you're diagnosed with it. So going into my first paragraph, I have an article about how 14 professional footballers were followed from 1980 to 2010, all the way up until death. So all the way up through their careers, and the information that was taken about them was their medical history, their history of concussions, and the details about their career. So 6 of the 14 families gave permission for a post-mortem examination to see if they have CTE, and in all 6 cases, there was found an abnormality in each person's brain. And 4 out of the 6 people examined were diagnosed with CTE after death. So all of the 14 people that were followed, their average death rate was 63 years old, which is actually 15 years earlier than the average lifespan of a footballer. Which just tells you like how concerning that is. Other symptoms that go along with CTE include dementia, TDP-43, which is an abnormality in your cell nucleus in your brain, and corticobasal degeneration, which is when the cells in your brain shrink and they start to die. So each impact that you take in your sport triggers a response in your brain, and cellular damage happens in your brain. And when you take a hit like that, like if you're playing a sport like football where you're taking multiple hits in a row, or boxing when you're getting hit in the head multiple times in a row, your brain doesn't have time to heal after each impact. So the more impacts that you take, your brain can't heal, and that just worsens your neurological damage in your brain over time. So the effects of CTE include problems with thinking, problems with communicating, with understanding, and it also creates problems like depression, confusion, mood swings, aggressiveness. And this is why you see sometimes retired athletes after their careers, they start to get aggressive. Some hit their wives, some athletes murder people, some athletes have killed people after their careers. And that just shows that those athletes have no control over their body when diagnosed with CTE. They just don't know what's going on, and it's almost like you're just seeing a completely different person than what they were like when their career started, before their career, or early on in their career. So CTE is a progressive neurodegenerative disease, which means it worsens over time. Your symptoms get worse over time. You don't particularly need to be getting hit in the head more and more for it to get worse. I mean, you do, but after you have CTE, it's inevitable. Like you can just be sitting at the house retired and your symptoms will get worse. Like you will get worse as a person over time. And that is also my warrant. So this is a graph of CTE and the chart that says like the different stages, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4 of the progression that goes through CTE and what parts of it affects your brain. So people say, my rebuttal, people say that head trauma is linked to CTE. Well, like even though head trauma is linked to CTE, people say that it's not definitive enough to say that it significantly affects everybody. People also say that it's unclear because you can't diagnose CTE until after death. So you have no idea. And people also say that it could just be genetics or like the overall health of the athlete. And I think I can diffuse that by backing like studies that say that frequent impacts increase the risk of brain damage. And even if the diagnosis is after death, symptoms like confusion and memory loss just suggest that the disease is developing. And dismissing head trauma as the main cause of symptoms just completely overlooks the scientific evidence connecting all to CTE. For my warrant, as I said earlier, CTE is a progressive disease, and that's backed by the Cleveland Clinic, that it gets worse over time. They state that it's a lifelong disease, that once you have it, you just cannot get rid of it. Like, there's no going back, there's no cure, there's no anything. And in conclusion, the fact that CTE can only be definitively diagnosed after death, even with today's technology, like, suggests that the people aren't getting the care that they need who have CTE. And I don't think the issue is just about figuring out how many people have CTE or the long-term effects of it. It's more about understanding how CTE truly affects somebody's mind, their emotions, and their overall lifespan after they've hung up their jerseys and after their career. Thank you.